I'll tell you when the scales fell from my eyes and I knew that we had entered a totally different time in this country. I could tell you the exact week. It was 2015. It was summer, and I went and did an episode of Real Time with Bill Maher. Killed it. Great crowd, big audience. Delivered my message. It was very much a MicroWorks message, reinvigorate the trades, et cetera, et cetera. 3 days later, same exact conversation with Glenn Beck. Now, I went home at the end of that week and opened my computer and started looking at the socials, see what's up. Holy shit, man. I can't tell you. My buddies on the right completely lost their minds when they saw me sitting next to Bill Maher. They just lost their minds. And my buddies on the left, their heads exploded when they saw me sitting next to Glenn Beck. Nobody talked about what I said. Nobody talked about the fact that I reached millions of people in both of those audiences with a message that was important to me, and I think maybe important for the country. Mm-hmm. Nobody was interested in the message. They weren't even interested in the messenger, which was me, which was weird because these people follow me online. What they were interested in is the proximity of my interlocutor. And that was a problem. How could you sit next to that son of a bitch? How could you sit next to him? How could you normalize blah, 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 blah. And that, to your question, that's the world that guy's living in. You know, everything is toxic. Well, not everything, but half of everything is toxic. So, you know, those are the times. You know, you must be this tall to get on the ride, you know, and we're on it. And now you have to think about who you're sitting next to, not just what you're saying. At least that's what you're told. I don't have the energy for it anymore.
Do you think we've become more divisive?
More divisive than what?
The past?
Like 1865, 1861?
I would probably compare it to 20 years ago.
No. Nope. I think the country was in much graver shape in 1860. I think at the height of the civil rights movement, we were really fractured. I think, I think there are many, 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 many occasions where things were much worse than they are now. What's different now, honestly, is access. You know, I can pick up my phone if I can find it, and I can tell you all the trouble in the world, man. It's right there. It's right there on your phone. We have a constant diet, endless reminders of how divided we are. That guy I mentioned before, Todd Rose, End of Average is great, but the one you want to read is called Collective Illusions. And Todd, again, his think tank excels in private opinion research. So he spends a lot of time trying to figure out what you really think. Not what you would say in a poll, not what you say when you're interviewed, but what you really and truly believe, right? And Todd reckons the biggest enemy we face in this country right now is the threat of the manufactured consensus. Like the idea that 80% of all the content on X is generated by 20% of the people there. And what you learn when you ask people, whether it's their investing thesis or whether it's their views on sex or immigration or down the list it goes, you can't trust them. You can't trust them to tell you the truth about how they really feel. And that's a shame. But the good news is that what comes out with all his research is how much we are not divided and how we have just been constantly reminded and told that we are. And look, and I think that's super encouraging. There's another book that makes the case really well too. It's called Everybody Lies. And in this book, the author gets the keys to the kingdom of Google data. And he gets to look at the details of every search conducted over the last however many years it was, 5 years. There's hundreds of billions of searches, right? And the thing is, you can't lie to Google. When you go online to find something, you have to ask it specifically what you want. And if you can step back and like triangulate all that data with the demographic information of the person who's conducting the search, as well as their ethnicity and where they live and their economic strata, all that stuff, they have all that. When you start looking at what people truly think about a thing based on what they search for, you get a completely different template of who we are as a people and a country. And it's not being reflected virtually anywhere.
Yeah, I would completely agree with you on that.
So be of good cheer. You know, it's not great right now. Obviously, people are, twisted up, but it's not real. It's not as real as certainly as it was in 1859 and 1860.
How do you know how honest to be? Like, are you only ever maximally honest?
No, I lie a lot personally. I mean, not
and
a
how
lot.
How do you determine when you're going to lie versus when you're not going to?
I don't consciously lie about anything consequential that I know of. But beyond that, lies of omission are probably more telling than overt stories.
Is there anything you omitted from the podcast so far?
This podcast?
Yeah.
Oh, sure. I mean, we've only talked for, 2 hours? I've omitted a lifetime of truths. Look, think about, this is amazing, man. This is, this podcast landia, it came along at such an interesting time. Actually, I take it back. It didn't come along. It was birthed as a direct result of endless sound bites and surfacey scratchings and curiosity being teased but never fulfilled. You can't do this. You couldn't even do this on Charlie Rose once upon a time. You certainly can't do it on the evening news. I don't know where the truth ultimately resides. But I tell you what I said to Joe Rogan last year was, anybody can come on a podcast for a half hour and show you the version of themselves they would like you to see. Maybe even an hour. Hour and a half? 2? After hour 2, for better or worse, you get at something that I don't think most public people would ever, they haven't been, at least until recently, they haven't been used to revealing the kind of thing you can get in a long-form conversation.
And really quick, I just want to say that most people know that they should have an LLC, but they keep pushing it off because it sounds super complicated. Well, that's why we partnered with Northwest Registered Agent. They make the entire process so simple that you could just get it done today.
For $39 plus state fees, Northwest forms your LLC and handles the state filings for you.
You get your operating agreement, member certificates, and banking resolutions, which is all the paperwork that actually makes it official.
And that's all that, plus a free domain, email, phone line, brand protection, and mail forwarding are bundled in so your business is ready to operate in the same day.
And your home address never goes in the public record. Northwest uses their own address in your filings instead of yours.
So if forming an LLC has been sitting on your to-do list for long enough, today is the day. Just go to northwestregisteredagent.com to get started.
That's northwestregisteredagent.com, or click the link down below in the description to get your LLC filed.
Thank you to Northwest Registered Agent for sponsoring this episode, and back to the podcast.